I mean, first of all, hope and belief are two very different things for football fans, and we all hope for the same thing, that we're successful, but whether you believe it or not is a different thing. And people online seem to have this sort of belief that if you're questioning your club, that you're not a proper fan. How dare you go against the club that you support, and how dare you call them out on doing things wrong? That's not how life works. Like, I've been inside football clubs, and I can tell you now, some of the things that I've heard, even at the lower levels that I played, like clubs leaking stories to get fans excited and all kinds of crazy things. Football is the most ruthless sporting business you will ever have anything to do with. It's absolutely brutal. Most of these owners don't give a damn about the fans. They see the fans as customers. It's as simple as that. And when you look at the Kroenkes, I mean, hiding behind PSR, at the end of the day, if you run your football club properly, you can open up those margins so you can spend a lot of money. Now, at the end of the day, they gave away Aubameyang and was high-fiving each other in the documentary. The guy went and won the league title at Barcelona and scored in the Bernabeu for Barcelona, but they was high-fiving each other, celebrating. If you went back through the names, Aaron Ramsey went for nothing. That's a £40 million player. Alexis Sanchez, worst swap deal in history with Mkhitaryan. Mkhitaryan went for nothing. He won the Italian league last year. The list, you could name 10 to 15 players this club have let go for nothing. You know, Pepe, 72 million, sold him for 3 million. So I think they have to look in the mirror before they start talking about PSR. You hired an amateur like Edu, who gave you stupid results for players, right? You should have sold these players for various amounts of money. Yeah, he got a hat trick, in fact, Aubameyang. So, but then, yeah, the online sort of hate. It's, I always say this, you know, people say sometimes when we call out the club, oh, you're doing it for traction. But the reality is, it would be much easier to just cap for everything that the club's doing. You've seen how that role kind of works online a lot. I'm not saying everyone's doing it in a fake manner, because some people genuinely believe it, but I believe there are people who have sort of chosen a tactic and said, I'm going to back everything the club says. Every kit that comes out's beautiful. Every player's an amazing player, and they've watched him for 4 years, even though they probably never heard of him 3 months ago. And they're playing a game to protect themselves. I always say this, it's actually more difficult to do what we're doing and sit online and go, actually, I'm an Arsenal fan. I followed them for over 25 years, but I don't agree with what that owner's doing, or I don't think that player is as good as everybody else thinks he is. Because, and you made a great point earlier, that I think a lot of fans have overrated certain players, and when they haven't delivered what we expected, we're looking at them as a letdown, like, oh, damn. Now, this is what I was saying about hope and belief. It's great to support your own players, and it's great to back them and try and uplift them, but also be honest and realistic about where they are. Because if you build somebody up and put them on a pedestal, then they can't produce. It's like, oh, are they as good as you thought or not? Because you go online, people will tell you, our team's amazing, our manager's generational. People, I've seen people say Arteta's generational. So I'm like, if this team's as good as you think, and this manager's as good as you think, where's the success? Where's the silverware? I don't know if you watched the overlap the other day. Like,
Yeah,
Roy Keane had Ian Wright stuttering. He said, for all this Arsenal talk about how good you are, you ain't won anything. You've won an FA Cup 5 years ago. Man United just won an FA Cup, League Cup, and sacked the manager. Like, what? Where's the success? Where's the
what I love about that? Like, sorry to cut you.
No, go on, bro.
This is exactly. I wanted to bring this up with you because I knew you'd watched it. By far, the best pundit, Roy Keane. By far, he says it how it is. He does not ever. You never listen to Roy Keane and think he's talking waffle there. He don't believe what he's saying. He just says it how it is for me. I could listen to him because he just says, and what I love about him, it doesn't matter whether it's Man United, Liverpool, Newcastle, Arsenal, West Ham. He keeps it consistent. Gary Neville, as much as I think he's a good pundit, is absolutely blindsided when it comes to Man United. Absolutely blindsided when it comes to, I see a vision, understand a plan, and I get all this. There's no plan at Man United. It hasn't been for a decade. What's he talking about? Whereas Roy Keane will say it. He's like, yeah, Man United, absolute disgraceful. What's going on there? Arsenal, yeah, look a good team, but what they won ain't won nothing. And then there's so many people that would have been rattled by what Roy Keane said. And Ian Wright is my hero, by the way. I absolutely love him. He didn't know what to say. He's like, yeah, well, we're coming close. And he says, rule me out this close stuff. I loved that.
Yeah,
I got close to a girl once in a bar. I loved that. I was like, yeah. That is so true, man. Like, let's be real.
Brilliant.
They're all so positive. Like, he just says it how it was. And Gary Neville and Ian Wright were like, you're right. I can't say anything. And I just thought it was class, man. Sorry. Go on.
Bro, but listen, and again, and this ain't I'm not even saying all this to call people out because, listen, everybody's trying to be successful in what they do. So do whatever you need to do to look after yourself. But we know certain situations. Gary Neville is having meetings with the ownership of Man United talking about the development of the new stadium. He's a massive business owner in Manchester. He owns hotels. He's got a football club up there. He's involved with them. You go on the Arsenal tour, Ian Wright's on tour holding up the new shirt. He works for Adidas, who work with Arsenal. So we went to LA. Ian Wright had a show over there with Arsenal. The new away shirt was brought out, the new black shirt that we've got. Ian Wright was working with Adidas. It's all, if you're working for somebody, are you going to publicly call them out?
100%.
So sometimes the thing that I loved about Ian Wright so much growing up as a player was not just him as a footballer, it was his character. He said what it was, he called people out, the passion. So when I see Wrighty sometimes on these shows, I think, boy, man, Wrighty, man, I get it. Like, I know you got to get paid and I respect it, but come on, like, there's a lot of people who look up to you as a former hero of the football club. You've got to be honest without going overboard and, you know, damaging your own pocket. Roy Keane as a player, I absolutely could not stand that guy. Not because I didn't respect him, but because of the rivalry with Arsenal and Vieira. As a pundit, I'm like, this guy, mate, is just like you said, he just says whatever he thinks, and people get offended by him because of his approach. But actually, he'll tell you exactly what it is. And I think sometimes with Arsenal, I always say with Arsenal fans, whether you're the biggest Arteta fan in the world or you're the biggest Arteta out, every Arsenal fan should want the same result. And that's the success of the football club. Now, what we have to try and do is figure out as a fan base, how can we best put the club under pressure to deliver that best result? So Arsenal lose a game, somebody like you or me or somebody else will put a tweet out saying, oh, that performance was rubbish, or this manager's job should be under pressure. And you'll get all these responses from all these guys going, you're this and you're that and you're that. I'm like, brother, why don't you put that energy into the fact that the team you support have just lost? What about the Kroenkes? Why are you mad at me? Go crazy about Stan Kroenke not buying, you know, the right players, but the energy's in the wrong direction. And then you get people going, oh, but what can the fans do about the football club? Well, they were going to go in the Super League, mate, but 15,000 Arsenal fans went outside the stadium and said, actually, that's not happening. And they said, well, what can we do? We got to, let's be real. The fans got Arsene Wenger sacked. Arsene Wenger's the biggest legend we've seen at the football club managerially in like our generation, unless you're a lot older or whatever. The fans got Arsene Wenger sacked because they voted with their feet. They said, we're not going to take our seat. Kroenkes are there going, yo, there's 10,000 empty seats and he's took us out the Champions League. We're going to have to operate. Now we're going to have to get rid of him. But the fans don't understand how much power they've got. But the problem is, the fans are, like you said, there's similarities to the Wenger time. They're bumping heads with each other. And the Kroenkes are in America. I watch basketball all the time. I love basketball. Stands at the Denver Nuggets games wearing a cap with Denver Nuggets on the front of it and shaking the player's hand courtside. And I'm like, when's the last time you seen Stan Kroenke at an Arsenal game standing on the side of the pitch, putting in, they don't give a damn. They go, what, you got Champions League? All right, money's in the bank, no problem. Go again next season. So for me, a lot of the Arsenal energy is misdirected. People are getting annoyed. Oh, this fan hasn't got the same opinion as me, or he doesn't rate that player when I rate him, or he doesn't like the manager when I like him. Let's all just sit here and look at it factually. We haven't won a trophy in 5 years. We haven't even been to a cup final since that FA Cup final. And that was during lockdown with no fans. So we didn't even experience that cup final properly, really, because we would have been inside the stadium. Arsenal fans should be sitting here right now going, we're in a mini crisis. Maybe not in terms of the league position, because we are competing again. And obviously that's the positive. But if this season works the way it looks like it's working at the moment, we're gonna stay still and be overtaken. You know, Liverpool, like we said, me and Turkish were saying the other day, if Liverpool win the league, we look like a laughing stock, because people will go, you've gone toe-to-toe with them for 2 years. The third year, they've actually had a drop-off, and you haven't even taken advantage of it. You've allowed the team that was playing Europa League last season in Liverpool to come out of nowhere and go ahead of you. Bro, like I said, to me, the Kroenkes, Arsenal is a business to them. I think at least with some of those other sports teams in America, they may have some sort of, attachment to the actual sport. So, they got Jokic with the basketball team and things like that. I look at it would possibly not even make them that much money if they won the Premier League, because the amount of bonuses they would have to pay out in people's contracts where wages go up, lump sums of people's wage, it might not even be financially beneficial for them to win the title that much, really, because they would have to spend more money to get there anyway. I think with them, their happy place is top 4. Get the top 4. Let's be totally honest, right? I went to LA the last couple of years. Their stadium is unbelievable. Like, crazy. When I say it's like a spaceship, bro. It's crazy. There's palm trees. There's a beach. There's a lake. The stadium. You go to the Emirates. I'm going to be totally honest. I don't know what you think. I actually don't think the Emirates is that nice a stadium. I'll be real. Even the surrounding area. Nah, maybe when it was first built, because we were ahead of the.
It's looking worn and tired now, isn't it?
It looks tired, man. They've put some paintings on the outside to try and uplift it, but there's no real. Anyone who's ever been
to
the
Emirates, of Kroenke, by the way.
Yeah, I know. And Win the Dog as well. They got Win the Dog and Josh Kroenke painted outside the stadium. I said, I don't know what's going on here. So you can tell, man, Arsenal is the side piece, man. He pops up listen, when you're in America on tour, I'll come and have a look. I'll shake hands, wave at people, and then I'm off about my business. Arsenal is the side piece. He wants to make money out of it. And the reality is, he's not under pressure to do anything different, which is what I always say. As long as he can get away with doing what he's doing, Stan, as the silent owner, he will continue to do it. The only time they react is when there's a problem. When Wenger out was happening, the Kroenkes turned up at games because they were here. They needed to see. They was having meetings. That there were problems. They don't need to do anything. The stadium's sold out every week. The merch flies off the shelf. Top 4's happened the last 2 seasons. You would probably imagine it happens this season. The manager will take all the flack, which is what he's being paid for. You have 15 million a season, but you're the human shield for the Kroenkes. Anything aimed at them, you block it. The sporting director, he will probably have a big say in who gets hired. And it's very reminiscent of the late Wenger days, when people say, what's going on? It's like he runs the club and, this, that, the other. So this is always my worry with the situation is we got in a situation over the last 2 years where it's like the title's there to be won. You can go and get it, but you've got to make them signings to get us over the finish line. And it just doesn't feel like those signings have happened. And I just don't believe that they have the same level of care for Arsenal as they do for a lot of their other sporting entities. He's building a new railway in LA, I believe, to make the ground more accessible because traffic's so heavy in LA. So he's going, there's your great team, there's your Super Bowl, there's your unbelievable stadium, your training ground, there's your access to the ground. We've got paintings of a dog outside the stadium. Why are we really getting we're getting the crumbs off the plate? I'm walking to the Emirates, I'm seeing Josh Kroenke painting and Win the Dog. They're getting a train to get straight to the stadium. They've got a beach outside the stadium. all we've got is a few puddles and a picture of a dog. I said, nah, man, this guy don't care, man. He don't care. You know what I mean?
No, we shouldn't laugh because it's our club. But
Crazy.
what else can you do, man, apart from just laugh at it? Because if you didn't
You
laugh,
have
you'd
to.
cry, bro. It's
You have
absolutely
to, bro. You've got to have a
embarrassing.
personality and a sense of humor to support Arsenal because they'll drive you crazy, man. It's wild. It's absolutely wild.